Hello folks, here's a quick guide on the Spiral Abyss in version 3.6. Only floors 11 and 12 have a new enemy layout, so I'll focus on that. In floor 11, you get a nice Dendro damage buff. You want Team 1 to have good AoE since each chamber has a wave with 4 beefy enemies. Having a Cryo or Pyro unit will also make Chamber 1 faster with the 2 Thunder Lava Churls. Team 2 is much more annoying. You want to bring Cryo and maybe a Dendro too. In Chamber 1, we got 9 Raven Mimics from the Oceanid boss. Melee characters have trouble hitting them, so bring an archer or someone with big AoE. Ganyu is usually the best choice, but Fischl, Raiden Shogun, Yae Miko, and even Diona works too. These birds have the lowest resistance against Electro, so you can also just bring Razor and give him some elemental mastery, then use his Hold E to kill most of the flying birds. After the mimics are dead, you got 3 Hydro Abyss mages, so that's why you want Dendro or Cryo to quickly break through those shields. Chamber 1A starts with 4 Mutachurros. Just run to the middle and they will all gather towards you. AoE them down like normal to spawn wave 2. The Great Shields can be annoying, but you can ignore them if they are frozen. Wave 2 has 2 Thunder Lava Churros. Run between one of them and the wall. This will bait their jumps towards the wall so you don't have to keep chasing them down. If one does go too far away, ignore it and focus on the closer one. They will eventually leap back towards you, so just swap to the closest target. Pyro, Cryo, and Dendro all does great damage to the shields. Chamber 1B is the most annoying one here. There are 3 frogs and 9 ravens. If you are lucky to have Ganyu, then use her to make this fight a joke. Otherwise, use big Electro AoE. It is really tough dodging all the birds and frogs at the same time, so you definitely want to have a healer and maybe some shields. Fischl's Oz is pretty good against the birds. Just make sure to kill the frogs ASAP so Oz can focus on the annoying birds. Once all 12 mimics are dead, 3 Abyss mages will spawn. Run towards the wall or far away from all 3 to bait them to teleport next to you. Then AoE them down if you can. Dendro does the most damage, but Cryo is also pretty good since you can freeze them and stop their bubble attack. Focus on the mage that loses the shield, since the last thing you want is letting it recover and make a new shield. Chamber 2A starts with 4 Ruined Drakes. They will all swarm on you, so don't worry about grouping them up. Having good AoE will bring down these 4 much faster. Since there's so many, don't worry about targeting a weak spot and just stay healed up, or keep them frozen. After these 4 are dead, 2 Ruined Graders will spawn. Run to the closer one, and the farther Grader will eventually run towards you. You can hit the glowing weak spots like their shins or eyes to disable them, but that's not needed with a decent healer on the team. Another normal enemy you have fought many times before. Use your best DPS rotation until they both drop dead. Chamber 2B starts with 3 new enemies, 2 Anemo rogues and 1 Hydro rogue. They usually start by summoning a slime, and you can attack these slimes like normal. If you break the slimes, the rogues will lose their special range attack and will start using melee on you. The Hydro slimes break faster with Dendro or Cryo, and shoot the Anemo slimes in the air if you got an archer, or just use big AoE. Most of their non-slime attacks are melee or mid-range, so it's really easy to group them up and burst them down once the slimes are gone. The next wave has 2 Geoviships. The Cryo one has an ice aura, and the Hydro one has the water aura. Focus on the element you don't want to deal with first. For example, I'm using a freeze team, and the Cryo Geoviship cannot be frozen once it activates, so I will focus on that one first and defeat it before it gets the Cryo buff. Chamber 3A starts with 2 Elite Samurai. You want to defeat both of them at the same time. After one dies, the other will use a move that heals it for 50% HP and makes them immune to crowd control. Take your time to make sure one doesn't die too early. You will save more time by slowing down your DPS rotation and focusing on the correct enemy. The next wave has 4 knights. Focus on the big axe guy first, since he shields the others. The huge axe shield blocks all the damage in front of him, so run behind. You can also just freeze him and ignore the shield. Having an AoE comp in Team 1 is great for all these enemy combinations. After the axe is dead, go after the red one with a banner, since he can also shield the other knights. I usually save the archer for last since his shield can be annoying, and it's usually at low health by the time you defeat the other 3. Chamber 3B starts with 1 Hydro Gunner and 2 Electro Hammers. Run to the gunner and focus him down since he heals, and the hammer guards will run to you anyway. If your damage is good enough, you can defeat them before they put up any shields. The next wave has 2 Mirror Maidens. If they hit you with enough attacks, they get a buff to make them immune to crowd control. Since it can be hard to dodge attacks from both Mirror Maidens at the same time, try to chain CC one of them and reduce as much life as you can before they get their immunity. They spawn far away from each other, so use that chance to 1v1. Floor 12 has no leyline buffs and a bunch of tanky enemies. You want Team 1 to have at least 1 Electro to make the last boss a little quicker. You also want 1 Archer for the boss in Chamber 2. Having strong AoE also helps. Team 2 should have your best AoE, since there's a bunch of enemies in each chamber on the second half. And you definitely want to have a healer for Team 2 since it's hard to avoid all the damage from the 3 Magu Kenkis. Chamber 1 starts with 4 Ruin Mechs. They will all crowd around you, so no need to bait them together. Ignore the crab enemies with the shields until you see them get disabled from your stray hits. Then change focus to them right away. This trick will save you a lot of time. Wave 2 will spawn 2 new elemental beasts, Dendro and Hydro. They have lots of melee attacks and will constantly shove you around. If you need to stay inside an area like Bennett's Burst or Fishel's Oz, then run towards the wall so they cannot push you too far away. When you see a large green or blue circle on the ground, look for the crystal that spawned. Hit these crystals with elemental attacks to break them, and the beast will lose 30% armor and be stunned. Definitely keep your eyes peeled for these big DPS windows, and don't let any crystals go unbroken. Chamber 1B starts with 4 big mushrooms. Run to the left or right to take out the flying ones first. The ones on the ground will come after you, but the other flying one can be annoying. Once one of the flying mushrooms is dead, go focus on the other flyer. The grounded mushrooms will take a lot of damage from your splash and cleave while you hunt down the flyers. Wave 2 spawns 4 samurai. Run to the elite pair and whittle their health together. Try to kill both around the same time to prevent them from healing. Ignore the smaller samurai since they will probably dive as you AoE and focus on the 2 big boys. The third wave is similar to the last wave in the first half. 2 elemental beasts with lots of melee attacks. Keep an eye out for the AoE circles on the ground, since that's your cue for the crystal to spawn. Then focus on destroying the crystals to disable the beast and greatly lower their defense. Chamber 2A is the boss against the Aeon Blight Drake. This one always starts by flying in the air. Swap to your archer and shoot the 2 shoulder weak spots. This boss also flies backwards a little, so I set up my Zhongli pillar behind it to get the extra pulse damage and activate the 4-piece tenacity bonus. Besides flying and gaining resistance to your elements, the boss has pretty straightforward attacks. If you want the full guide for this boss, click on the video info card on the top right to check out my boss guide. Chamber 2 has a bunch of enemies. You start with 3 Hydro Rogues. Same tip as before, defeat the slime they summon to remove their range attacks, then you can easily group them up and AoE them down. Try to get your burst back before the 3rd rogue dies, since the next wave is much more painful. The second wave has 4 Emerites, but 2 of them are summoners, so it's actually 6 enemies. Run to one of the summoners first, since they like to use range attacks, then focus down on one of the summons. When one goes down, look for the summoner that got stunned and focus on her. They have reduced defense after you take down their summon. Repeat this for the second summoner. There's lots of damage going on from this wave, so keep an eye on your HP and heal accordingly. Chamber 3A is the Overseer Network boss. This is a very easy boss, but tanky and wastes a lot of time. When it summons the 4 ads, just focus on any one of them since the phase ends when the first ad dies. And when the boss turns invisible, hit the repair bots with Electro to disable the boss and get more time to attack. Having an Electro unit will save you a lot of time here, but it's not required. I was able to get 3 stars in this chamber without an Electro unit in Team 1. For all the attack patterns on this boss, check the info card on the top right of the video. Chamber 3B has 3 Magu Kenkis, the normal one and his 2 clones. They only do the moves they usually do, but the clones will stay on the field the whole time. This means you want to run to the Wind clone since that one shoots all the projectiles. Then focus down the Wind one while AoEing the rest. It is very hard to avoid damage in this fight, and the boss hurts really bad, so keep an eye out on your HP. Swap out characters early if they take a big hit, and be generous on your healing. The 3 Maku Kenkis can be chaotic, but it's also fun taking them down since they don't get knocked back from your team. Anyway, I hope this 3.6 Spiral Abyss guide helps you clear floors 11 and 12, and maybe help you get some extra stars. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and as always, have fun out there, traveler.